Picture this. You're sitting in your car in the parking lot at work, engine off. You got here 20 minutes ago and your hands are still on the wheel.
Oh, I know this one.
You're staring at the front doors of the building and there's this weight in your chest telling you that you can't go in. Not just today, ever.
That heavy sinking feeling, like your body said no before your brain even caught up.
Exactly. And here's the part that gets me. You know you need to quit. You've known for a long time, but you don't open the laptop. You don't write the resignation letter. You sigh, you grab your bag, and you walk in and do the exact same you did yesterday.
Can I admit something before we even start? I have literally sat in that car. Different parking lot, same chest.
See, that's exactly why this one matters. So, if you're listening right now and thinking that's me, you are really not alone. Today, we're going into one of the quietest, most common experiences in adult life, being completely stuck.
You're listening to Paya Talks. Big ideas, both sides, real depth from Paya Academy.
I'm Dr. Farzan.
And I'm Sophia. Today, one question. Is your own brain protecting you or quietly paralyzing you? It comes from Chapter 1 of The Life Skills Gap by clinical psychologist Layla Shakari, who builds the chapter on Daniel Kahneman's two-system model of the mind.
I'll argue Shakari is right. When you freeze at a big decision, that's an ancient glitch you have to interrupt.
And I'll argue the opposite, that the caution you're calling a glitch might be the smartest part of you. Let's get into it. The 40-year-old teacher.
Right. 9 years ago, when she first got this job, she walked home through the autumn streets and couldn't stop smiling. Teaching was the dream.
And today?
Today, on a gray Tuesday, she's the woman we just described, sitting in her car in the school parking lot. The bell has rung, and she's dreading walking up to classroom 4B.
And the gut punch in the chapter is that this isn't a one-off bad morning.
No, she's been having this exact crisis in this exact parking lot for 4 years. 4 years of knowing she needs to leave, and 4 years of not taking one concrete step. And Shakri's point, which I completely agree with, is that this is not a character flaw.
She calls it a biological glitch.
A conflict between System 1 and System 2.
And we should actually explain those two, because everything hangs on them. So, System 1 is your fast brain, automatic, instant, no effort. It's the part that reads the look on a friend's face before they say a word, or knows 2 plus 2 without trying.
And System 2 is the slow brain, deliberate, effortful. It's the voice in your head you actually think of as you.
It's what you use to work out 17 times 24, or plan for retirement, and it burns real energy, which is why it's famously lazy. It would rather not run.
Exactly. And here's Shakari's move. Maria's cheap, fast System 1 keeps shoving the painful choice. Quit the job onto tomorrow. And her lazy System 2 just signs off on the delay.
Kicks the can down the road.
Every day. So Shakari says procrastination on the big life stuff isn't a time management problem.
It's an emotional regulation problem.
Driven by biology, we're running ancient software in a world it was never built for.
Okay, but here's where I get off the bus. Let's look at Maria's actual life, not the abstract psychology. She's 40. Her mother just had a major health setback and is in an expensive care home. Maria visits every single weekend.
Sure, she's under stress.
It's more than stress. She relies on a stable teaching pension. She has flexible afternoons that let her manage her mother's medical appointments. So, what you're calling a misfiring System 1, I'd call an incredibly accurate, holistic risk assessment.
I don't know if I'd call it accurate.
Think about what System 1 is actually doing. It's processing millions of pieces of information at once, far more than your slow, deliberate brain can hold in its head. And when you constantly interrupt it with forced intellectual rationalizing, you can talk yourself right past real warnings.
Warnings about what?
Financial ruin, losing her housing, not being able to care for a sick parent. Those aren't imaginary. Maria's body is warning her about them, correctly.
That's a fair point, and it's exactly why we have to look at the mechanics. Take two of the biases Shakari walks through: sunk cost and anchoring.
Go on.
Maria's put 9 years into teaching. That's the sunk cost. But underneath it, she's anchored. And anchoring isn't just an emotional memory. It's when one early number or fixed standard quietly becomes the ruler you measure everything else against.
I know the concept. Spell out Maria's anchor.
Her salary pass and her built up pension. And her mother once said in passing that teaching was a guaranteed safe harbor, which set the anchor in concrete. So now her brain measures every alternative career against that exact financial line. Even a job that pays a little less but saves her sanity gets logged as a catastrophic loss instead of a reasonable trade.
And you read that as a flaw.
Here's how I'd put it. Picture System 1 handling sunk cost not like a wise old protector, but like a panicked investor facing a margin call. The market has crashed on teaching for her. The asset is toxic. She's miserable.
But instead of selling,
taking the loss, and putting her energy somewhere better, her ancient brain forces her to keep pouring emotional capital into a failing account just to avoid the sharp pain of admitting the loss. The smart question is, given where I am today, what gives me the best outcome going forward? But her brain literally can't stomach the felt waste of walking away from the past. That's an error in logic.
see, I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. And let me tell you why. You're treating these deep intuitions like bugs to be found and deleted. So look at another bias. Shakari names the availability heuristic. Maria easily remembers an aunt who left a steady job at 40 to open a bakery and never financially recovered.
Classic availability error.
And a colleague who jumped to tech and came back to the school, embarrassed, 6 months later. Because those stories are vivid and right there in her mind, she overestimates the odds of failure. Sha'akari calls that a bias. But in the context of survival, is it really an error?
In today's world, yes.
In the world we evolved in, vivid cautionary tales literally kept you alive. If someone in your tribe ate a certain mushroom and died, you didn't sit down and run the statistics on mushroom toxicity across the continent.
No, obviously not.
You remembered the horrifying story and you never touched that mushroom. Sunk cost was the same. It meant persistence. Walk away from your half-built shelter because you're tired and you freeze to death. So telling a 40-year-old woman who is the sole support for her mother to just override these instincts with abstract logic, that strikes me as genuinely dangerous.
I hear that. But here's the thing. Knowing where a behavior comes from doesn't make it useful where we live now. System 1 is brilliant at immediate physical patterns. Modern adult life isn't about poison mushrooms. It's abstract numbers, tangled social systems, decisions that play out over years.
Some of it, sure.
Look at the planning fallacy. We all universally underestimate how long a complex thing will take and what it'll cost. Shakari uses the Sydney Opera House, supposed to take 4 years and $7 million.
And it took
10 years, 102 million.
slight overrun.
Slight. And if the best architects and engineers on earth get it that wrong, Maria cannot trust her gut to navigate a messy, multi-year career change. When she imagines the change, her System 1 is blind to the real complications. So it hands her a comforting lie. We'll deal with this next month once things calm down.
But things never calm down.
They never calm down, and that lie is what's holding her hostage.
It's only a lie if you assume the brain's one job is cold efficiency. But fine, take me into the biology because Shakari leans hard on it. Maria's under chronic low-grade stress.
Right. Her stress hormone, cortisol, is running high pretty much constantly, and cortisol is a disaster for big decisions. Here's the simple version. When stress floods in, it pulls blood flow away from the front of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. That's the home of System 2.
The planning reasoning part.
It powers down, and at the same moment, the amygdala, your brain's smoke detector, the threat center, lights up and goes into overdrive. Daniel Goleman has a great name for this, the amygdala hijack. The alarm gets so loud, it drowns out the architect.
The threat center overrides the planner.
And that's the whole point. Maria's non-decision isn't wise, holistic caution. It's a physical shutdown of the part of her that could actually plan. Her time horizon collapses. She stops optimizing for the next 5 years of her life and starts optimizing for surviving the next 5 hours. It's a system built to escape a predator, misfiring at a career crisis.
That's a strong argument, but let me offer the other reading. What if, in a fragile situation like hers, that hijack is exactly what stops a catastrophe?
A catastrophe? She's frozen.
You're calling the narrowed time horizon a pure negative, a shutdown. But if someone's real-world footing is genuinely shaky, a narrow time horizon might be the very thing protecting a delicate, necessary balance. Your prefrontal cortex, System 2, loves a beautiful idea. I'll find my passion. I'll quit and retrain as an archivist.
And those are valid.
They're lovely on paper, but pulling that off right now with no safety net might bankrupt her. So that heavy exhaustion in her chest, the thing that keeps her in the car and then walks her into 4B, maybe that's the biological brake pedal.
So it's protecting her from herself.
It's stopping an impulsive, idealistic leap she simply cannot afford to make.
Here's why I still can't go with you on that. The text shows the stress loop quietly swaps out the question she's answering.
Swaps it how?
When Maria sits in that car, she is not actually weighing, should I stay in teaching or should I leave? The stress, the cortisol, the fatigue, it morphs the question into, do I have the energy to even think about this huge, terrifying change today, or should I wait until tomorrow?
And a tired, flooded brain always answers,
Tomorrow, 100% of the time. That's not her choosing the safe path because it's safe. That's her avoiding the decision altogether. That's the malfunction.
okay, so let's get to what Shakari actually prescribes, because there's a tool here. She calls it the pause protocol. 3 steps when you feel the paralysis hit. Step 1, name the pressure. Step 2, name the pattern, which bias is running. Step 3, slow the timeline by 1 increment.
Simple and I think elegant.
Is it, though? Here's my honest worry. Sha'akari admits in the chapter that Kahneman himself, the man who spent 50 years studying these biases, who won a Nobel for them, said late in his life that he still fell for them every single day.
That's true. He did say that.
He couldn't outthink his own fast brain. So if the Nobel laureate can't do it, how is an exhausted, stressed, ordinary adult supposed to correctly diagnose their own anchoring bias during a 90-second pause in a parking lot? To me, that borders on magical thinking. You can't just order the prefrontal cortex to switch back on.
And I'd say that's a misread of the actual claim. Shakari is explicit. The goal of the pause is not a perfect clinical diagnosis.
Then what is it?
It's not about eliminating the bias. It's about interrupting the automatic emotional loop, just breaking the circuit. And the mechanism is something called affect labeling.
Putting the feeling into words.
Right. When Maria does step 1, just naming it. Okay, I'm in the sunk cost trap right now. She's doing something real to her brain. Naming a vague, scary feeling pulls activity away from that frantic smoke detector amygdala and back toward the language and reasoning part of the brain. She is literally cooling the engine by making the word center do its job.
So the friction itself is the medicine.
Exactly. It separates the content of the decision, should I leave my job, from the energy of the stress, I'm terrified and exhausted. And then step 3, slowing the timeline by one notch changes the stakes. I don't have to decide my whole career today, I just have to sleep on this one thought. And one night of sleep genuinely restores the slow brain. Cortisol drops.
Sleep does help.
The protocol isn't trying to turn you into a flawless, rational robot. It's a low effort bit of friction, just enough to let the thinking brain back into the driver's seat.
I'll absolutely grant you the elegance of affect labeling. Naming feelings to lower their heat is well documented. And take a breath, wait a day is rarely bad advice. But here's the deeper danger: false confidence. Sha'Carri herself says System 2 is lazy, and historically its job was never to audit System 1.
Its job was?
To be System 1's lawyer, its press officer. It takes the gut's emotional impulse and dresses it up with respectable-sounding logic. So my fear is the pause protocol just hands Maria the illusion of rigorous thinking. She sits in her car, dutifully names her stress, identifies her sunk cost, waits a day, and then makes the exact same fear-based choice to stay. Except now she feels like she reasoned her way there.
I see where you're going.
It gives her the veneer of a real choice, while she's still being steered by the same old emotional current. That's a very sophisticated form of self-deception.
That's a sharp point. But here's the counter. The text argues that just observing the mechanism starts to drain its power, the observer effect.
Watch the thing and it changes.
As Sha'Carri puts it, the first time Maria honestly asked herself, am I putting this off because today truly isn't the right day? Or because every day looks like the wrong day from inside a tired, stressed, anchored brain? Something in her chest shifts. Seeing the pattern is most of the work.
If she can actually see it.
So here's where I land. If we accept Kahneman's map of the mind, we have to accept that our brains carry design flaws in a world this complex. Friction, the pause, isn't a guarantee. Sometimes System 2 still plays lawyer, but it's the essential discipline. It's the only way to go from being a passive passenger in your own biology to actually living a deliberate life. You interrupt the autopilot, or you spend your life in the parking lot.
And where I land is this: understanding these mechanisms is vital, but we have to be careful how we frame them. Don't arrogantly wave away the protective wisdom of the automatic mind as a bunch of glitches to debug. That system kept our ancestors alive through thousands of years of real danger. Maria's hesitation, the weight of her responsibilities, the fear of losing her footing at 40 while caring for a sick mother, that isn't only error. It's the calculation of a brain working hard to keep her safe from ruin. Respect that intelligence, even while you question it.
And we do converge. We both agree Kahneman's two-system model changes how you hear your own inner voice forever.
And we both agree the modern world demands a kind of abstract, long-range, statistical planning our brains were simply never built to do easily. Ancient hardware.
In a hyper-modern world, the environment changed faster than our biology could.
Which leaves all of us carrying two completely different minds in one skull. The fast, ancient, intuitive one, and the slow, deliberate, modern one.
And the real challenge of being an adult is telling the difference between a bias that's falsely holding you back and an instinct that's genuinely keeping you safe.
And no framework, no podcast, no theory can draw that exact line for you. What Sha'Carri's chapter gives you is the vocabulary to even see your own hesitation clearly. The judgment is yours.
So, the next time you're stuck, dreading a decision, unable to move, remember how your own mind is built. Your hardware is brilliant. It might just be reacting to a world that doesn't exist anymore.
You can hit pause. You can name the fear. You can wake the deliberate part of your mind back up.
Because in the end, you get to decide who's actually driving the car. If you want to sit with this properly, it's chapter 1 of The Life Skills Gap by Leila Shakiri, with more on living deliberately over at Paya Academy.
That's it for this episode of Paya Talks. Next time, find the real problem before you act.
Until then, keep thinking.